And we're going. Do this shit, right. Brought to you by the new Pharaoh's Lounge Kickstarter. It's time for our final class for the first part of our new graphic novel, The AracKnight, told in 4 chapters. Each chapter 24 pages long, each chapter having 3 to 4 variant covers. We go through 25 comic books to write each one. We pull a page out of each one for inspiration, with other side issues, annuals, and other sorted things to keep us engaged. We've reached the first 22 pages are written. In pages 1 and 2, we've introduced young Peter Parker. We brought him in that his parents are experimenting on specimens to rebuild the super soldier serum. Peter's guardian is his Uncle Ben, who kind of hangs out with him while his parents are busy. They bring him in to visit the lab, and the spider bites Peter as a young 8-year-old boy. He recovers quickly from his fever. His parents take him ice skating. His powers kind of kick in a little bit. He crashes into an ice skating shack. It's at Christmas time. They're walking him home. They are attacked by the chameleon, who tries to steal the formula before Peter's father knocks it into the sewers. He kills both his parents, tries to kill Peter before Peter tries to fight back, and makes the chameleon escape into the oncoming crowd. Peter is left to look at his parents die, a la Bruce Wayne. He becomes an angsty teen and nearly cripples a bunch of bullies in his school. His uncle tells him to get out of town for a while and lay low. Peter travels around the world to find himself, ends up working on a salvage crew. He's a farmer. He takes pictures over ruins. He starts to find some friends, but his salvage treasure crew finds treasure in the Atlantis. They are attacked by a pirate ship. Everybody dies as Peter tries to fight and save the hostages, but both ships explode. Peter falls into the ocean, left for dead, where he washes up along the shores of the savage land, where he is taken in by Kraven the Hunter and mentored, learning more about his powers and abilities and the history of his blood. But of course, Kraven is trying to use him to harvest his blood and organs as he is aging and the potions aren't working on him anymore. Peter fights back. Kraven is killed by the stampede, as well as them fighting over a cliff where they fall. Peter turns, breaks every bone in Kraven's body, leaving him for dead, but giving him a warrior's burial should he trade the name of his parents' killer. Kraven gives him the name. Peter then goes back to Empire City, sends his journal to Ben, pledges with Ben to help him fight and get vengeance for his parents' death. In the process, will become a superhero. Now, of course, before he even gets started, and picks out his uniform and designs his uniform and his utility belt and his web shooters, a giant series of holograms are commandeered from across the sky as the Sinister Six announce their intentions to hold the city at ransom for $10 billion in gold bullion, or else they will sabotage and destroy the launching of the Mars colony from Empire City. The savior of mankind on that Mars colony, of course, we will learn is the Fantastic Four. So we're going to connect the climax of this story to the origin of the Fantastic Four. I don't like that's too close. Give that a space. All right, so Peter and Ben are building up the suit. So now Peter's got to go and try out the suit for the first time. He's got a rooftop apartment that his Uncle Ben kind of leaves him. He's in a hollowed out, set up a cool little loft overlooking the glowing Empire City that is now being held hostage by the Sinister Six, who are saying, we don't want to go to war. Whatever you do, we will destroy. The Mars colony, your greatest triumph will be your greatest disaster. Unless you pay us $10 billion to go away. And he's even bragging, we will use it to finance our own empire and leave yours alone. So from his rooftop lair, Peter leaps into action. We're given our first throwaway villains are going to be the Enforcers. Peter's going to fight the Ox, Montana, and Fancy Dan in an effort to climb the ladder of crime and make his way to his parents' killer. But in the way, he might find himself afoul of the Sinister Six. So that's where we leave off. Peter has fought Ox. Now, Ox has kind of jumped up on top of him, got him in a bear hug move, smashed him to the ground, but Peter then puts all his limbs on the ground and pushes up, smashing him against the ceiling, splitting him in half. Then he tries to shoot his web shooter at Fancy Dan. Montana lassos his arm, snaps the web shooter so he can't get a chance to use it. He then yanks the lasso as hard as he can, pulls a Jake the Snake Roberts like a short arm clothesline, clotheslines him out the fucking window. So as we've left it at the end of page 22, Peter's about to face off with Fancy Dan. Why is it doing that? Okay, good. Then what we'll do is we're going to look over the script when we're done. We're almost done here. Once we're done, this will be a longer class, our final class. All right, there we go. Peter, like I said, he pulls the lasso as hard as he can towards him, clotheslines him with a fucking lariat, knocks his ass out the fucking window. You see happy fucking trails, cowboy. And now Peter's got to face off with Fancy Dan. Okay, boy, you're stepping in a pile. So now I'm gonna have to run. So now I'm gonna have to run you through. Pulls out a knife. So now I'm gonna have to run you through. And for some reason, I made him like a Jason Statham drunken Irishman. Which now gets us to the end of our class, page 23. So our goal today is to read 3 Spider-Man comic books. Spider-Man 23, Spider-Man 24, Spider-Man 25. We're going to write our last 2 pages. We've already talked about our cover concepts. I've already had 2 of them already in production. My man Emil is currently finishing the Faro script for spring 1869. When that is done, I'm going to slide this script to him, and we're going to get this fucking thing's going to be production. We can't sell this regularly, which means this is going to be a limited edition graphic novel we're going to do. So I can't sell it commercially because it's a fucking Spider-Man story. So we have to sell it, sell out all the copies, and then never fucking sell it again. So the idea is we need to know what's going to cost us, so we need to know what we're going to make off of it. So we need to know essentially what to charge for it, or how many we're going to make. We might just do that in a separate class. Might just do that here fucking today. What the hell? Let's just do it here today. It's the end of class, the last class, the 12th class. It's the final class, the season finale. And then, of course, what we'll do is, while this is in production, we'll write the other fucking 3 chapters. We're gonna have some fun, man. We're gonna write a 100-page fucking graphic novel in, I guess, what, 6 weeks, 2 months, 6 weeks? Who the fuck knows? We'll get it done. For now, we got to finish this first one first before we start looking too far ahead, like the arrogant bastards we are. Goblin and the Gangsters. So again, Peter's about to face off with Fancy Dan. So we have 2 pages left in this comic book. In these 2 pages, we have to get it to the "Who are you? I'm Spider-Man." So let's get what we got going here. The Green Goblin comes back, which is a great issue to look at because again, we got brawling going on. We got all sorts of brawling. The Goblin comes in and says, "Look, I know I look like a jerk off in this fucking costume here, but I'm taking over the fucking rackets in the city. All you mugs with your stupid suits and your fucking fists and your fucking Edward G. Robinson fucking cigars. You guys are nothing. Look at me. I got a rocket blaster. I got pumpkin bombs. Do you understand? I can kill every single fucking one of you." Lucky Lobo. So he's the lead guy. And the idea is that the Goblin's just going to turn everybody on him. He says, "Look, we ain't giving into this mug. This fucking guy runs around in a goblin costume. We're going to fucking answer to a goblin." Pete, of course, getting some breakfast. He's got to dry off his Spider-Man suit. He leaves it in the attic because fucking stupid Aunt May's a pain in the ass. They just keep adding these dumb little elements of Aunt May being annoying. Betty Brant's fucking banging another guy. Getting mail from Ned Leeds saying, "Look, you are so hot. Send me some fucking lingerie pics." Frederick Foswell's been rehired. Now remember, Frederick Foswell was the big man. He was the guy that brought the enforcers here in the first place. So, J. Jonah Jameson says, "Clip, you got any pictures to sell me?" He's like, "No, I came by to see Betty. Get the fuck out of my office, you jerk off." He's kind of pissed off. He's like, "Why are you getting letters from fucking Ned Leeds, you bitch?" He's like, "Oh, but I was going to tell you about the letter." No, she wasn't. It's a stupid line. He's walking around. He sees Foswell. He doesn't trust him. He's like, "Oh, shit, my fucking costume's in the house." Goblin's still running around saying, "Look, here's a complete list of the dough he made. He's got informants." So the Green Goblin, I always thought if you did a sequel, The AracKnight Returns, you'd have to bring in Norman Osborn, reveal him to be the mayor of the city. He's the mayor of the city of Empire City. We have to introduce the mayor and address the ransom. So we got something for our notes section here. Now, again, when we're all said and done here, we take all these notes and we move them to the next file, whether we use them or not. And we'll go through these notes to make sure what we can erase and what we've already typed down. Okay, so like we said, Dr. Octopussy blaring image across the sky. We did it. Six imageries everywhere. Dr. Octopussy threatened to say, "We can erase this from our notes section." All right. Dr. Rossi, Ransom the Man, a la Campy, Dr. Evil Vise, Ransom the Man, the Fantastic Four astronauts getting ready to move in to prepare. We still need that launch colony. We do like a little news outage. And now we've got these cover here. Save Leia, Steel Bikini. That's already in production. Yakuza Sex Slave is not in production yet. We'll get to that one. That'll be our Jose Varice cover. Cover 3. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up doing some cool lettering technique for the inside cover. So remember, we have to do. I can't even put my fucking logo on this. Maybe I could sneak my logo in there. But again, these will be limited edition. We can't sell these on the regular because we have to make our budget. The goal is to probably make about like 10 grand. We got to see what the budget is, which again, we'll do at the end of this. We'll go through our notes section. We'll figure out what we're going to keep. But what do we want to put in the notes? Oh, yeah. Norman Osborn is the mayor of Empire City. And the 6 go after and try to drive crazy Oscorp. Now, maybe not. We might do it, we might not do it. The Savage Land. Page 24. So this is page 23. We might just get rid of these because he's not going to Now Magazine yet. So we'll probably get rid of these notes. Okay. Let's get through this comic book. So, Green Goblin. He's making fun of people. J. Jonah Jameson's at his Midtown, the swanky Midtown Business Executives Club. Doesn't look really swanky. It looks like they're all on top of each other. They're all bragging. Now, look, if you look, isn't that kind of cool? Before we even see him for the first time, we've already put him in the notes section. There he is. He's not even mentioned by name yet. Norman fucking Osborn. Technically, Amazing Spider-Man 23 is his first appearance, even though we don't know he's the Green Goblin yet. Foswell comes in and delivers some notes, some informant shit going on. Now, the problem is, all right, so Norman Osborn was just in the fucking business club. So what, did he follow Jameson out? Or did he have body double? See, this is where it gets a little inconsistent when they try to tell you the fucking Green Goblin. But again, this could have been later on. Norman Osborn could have slipped out. So now it's like you're pulling your Sixth Sense shit. So Lucky Lobo could have been our throwaway bad guy, but he's not. We like to use the enforcers. I like to use some characterization. So we can use the lasso, we can use Ox, now we can use Fancy Dan. Essentially, page 23 is going to be a fucking martial arts fight between fucking Spider-Man and Fancy Dan. You know? Goblin's fucking throwing bombs. Spider-Man's trying to hot pursuit him. Lucky Lobo's being arrested for tax evasion. Basically, Goblin's going in and just fucking cutting loose and killing everybody, leaving Spider-Man to take the heat, to fuck everybody up, to fight his way out, throw dudes against the wall. We have to get some ideas for fighting scenes here. Because again, we're writing a fight scene for 2 pages. We need to end this with, who are you? No, who are you? I'm Spider-Man. You know what I mean? He stops really quick while he's fighting to call Aunt May. It's cute, but at the end of the day, it's kind of cheesy as well because he's kind of fighting some fucking gangsters. Kind of downplays the gangsters. Spider-Man gets out of there. He's chasing after the Goblin. Jumps the Goblin. He fucking pumpkin bombs him. He realizes, holy shit, I'm in over my head. This fucking Goblin really knows what the fuck he's doing. He tries to spray the Goblin bombs, throw it somewhere else. He shoots him here. He shoots him there. The web shooters, the Goblin bombs. He's trying away, gets away, leaps, misses, flings up, pirouette, fucking sidewinder, but the Goblin gets away and says, "Holy shit! They arrested the whole gang. It was too successful." Goblin even fails because everybody goes to jail. Peter, Lucky Lobo, the Green Goblin, no pictures. He's pissed off at Betty. Betty just got a fucking boob job. But again, Peter's wearing his nice fucking suit. Aunt May's just yelling. He's like, I don't know what's come over me. Why am I so edgy? School grades are tops in the class. Aunt May's been feeling fit as a fiddle. Betty probably just forgot to mention Ned's letter. Why is she going to talk to him about another man writing to her? Fucking stupid. Poor Peter Parker. Even though there's nothing to worry about, he worries about that. But this time, he fears may be justified. For the future does hold many grim dangers, and the startling surprises for him. And you'll share them with him beginning next issue. So till then, face front, and don't wear your costume until it's good and dry. So this is the Spidey masterwork of all the people that have appeared in his web. You notice that they have Princess Python down at the bottom. She's a blonde. Now, again, if we were going in chronological order, you'd probably end up throwing Princess Python into that strip poker piece, but we want Mary Jane. We want Mary Jane Watson. See, the Fantastic Four is all the way up to 37. So if you want to read to catch up, that's what you got to do. 37, you got 10 X-Men issues to read, 14 Avengers, Strange Tales, Tales of Suspense. And this is the kind of cool shit when you're flying to like Tokyo or Thailand. You just give yourself a fucking reading list. But I'm noticing there's no Daredevil on here. So I guess they're not promoting Daredevil as much. Or maybe Daredevil just not getting the readership. Who the fuck knows? All right, kids. And now we move on to page 24. But first, we must write page 23. And in this one, Spider Man goes mad. Brought to you by the new Faro's Lounge Kickstarter on just below 18 grand. Drive me fucking crazy. We have to stop seeing whores. All right, before we get there, let's get here. Keep this up here. Here. There we go. God damn it. I wanted this. All right, good. All right. So you stepped in a pile. Okay, boy, you're stepping in a pile. You're stepping in a pile like you're steeped. You're steeped in a pile. Okay, boy, you're steeped in a pile. So I'm going to have to run you through. We see a rapid fire shot of Spider-Man, of Peter, firing multiple web shooter blasts at Fancy Dan. SFX of the web shots, of the web blasts. God damn it. In a montage of elusive moves, of elusivity, of elusive moves, we see Fancy Dan using his tiny size and give an advanced agility to evade all of Peter's rapid fire shots. SFX of Fancy Dan leaping and evading web blasts. SFX. They want effects. Some DOS effects. They want effects. All right. Fancy Dan makes a knife thrust at Peter that he evades. No, he should get a shot in on Peter. Fancy Dan makes a knife thrust at Peter, slicing him across the chest. SFX of the slice and slash. Fancy Dan so again. So Peter starts clap, pat, 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 pat. Fancy Dan jumps around him. Fancy Dan leaps, gets a nice slash. Remember, he's small and elusive. We need one guy. We need a leader at least to get offensive shot. And it can't be complete like Rock fucking Black Adam squash. Fancy Dan makes a knife thrust at Peter, slicing him across the chest. Peter then leaps over Fancy Dan and turns to shoot him in the back with a web shot, with a web blast. This could be kind of cool. We can have a little fun here. Peter then yanks Fancy Fancy Dan up to the center of the damaged room by shooting another web to the ceiling, to the cracked ceiling. So he is trapping Fancy Dan up like a punching bag. Nah, I don't like that. I need page 24, to end with that, who are you? So we only need like two panels there. It's splash panel to end it all. So we got to decisively get, or it could be three panels, but you need a good splash at the end. I'm Spider-Man. I like the knife thrust, but then we got page four, panel 4, 5, 6. We got to play with here. Get rid of this. Peter then leaps over. Okay, so he just sliced. He sliced Peter across the chest. That slice. What was this? Beforehand. Figure 630. Depending on traffic. I've got snowbirds all over me here. All right. Going to see Dice tonight, just organizing. Ooh, Andrew Dice Clay. I'm such a fan. Okay, so let's finish this shit up. Peter then leaps over. So he slices him across the chest. And let's give Fancy Dan another shot. Rolling himself. I like this. I like this. Rolling himself into a human cannonball. Fancy Dan bounces himself into Peter, knocking him back towards the nearly destroyed wall. SFX of the bouncing, kicking, and smashing. Okay. Peter then. Me too, fucking Canadians, but sounds good. All right, 6:30. I'll see him. Peter then shoots a series of webs up against the ceiling, making a large web trap. He then roundhouse. It's a roundhouse or a thrust. He then roundhouse thrust kicks the bouncing Fancy Dan up into the trap. SFX of the thrust kick smashing Fancy Dan upward. SFX of Peter webbing up a trap. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. Now I just need a little dialogue. Now, again, you could do exposition explain. We see a rapid fire shot of Peter firing multiple web shooter blasts at Fancy Dan. Again, you could put that in the script saying firing multiple rapid fire shots. The elusive Fancy Dan bounces around like a human cannonball. In a montage of elusive moves, we see Fancy Dan using his tiny size and advanced agility to evade all of Peter's rapid fire shots. Fancy Dan makes a knife thrust at Peter, slicing him across the chest. Rolling himself into a human cannonball, Fancy Dan bounces himself at Peter, knocking him back towards the nearly destroyed wall. Peter then shoots a series of webs up against the ceiling. You know what it is? Get rid of the knife thrust. No, you gotta get the knife thrust. And then Fancy Dan can bounce around like a human cannonball. Bounces himself into Peter, knocking him backwards towards the nearly destroyed wall. Peter then shoots a series of webs up against the ceiling, making a large trap, while Fancy Dan gets ready for another bounce attack. There we go. SFX of Peter webbing up a trap. He then roundhouse thrust kicks the bouncing Fancy Dan up into the trap. SFX of the thrust kick, smashing Fancy Dan upward. I like it. Now we just need some dialogue there. So, this is Spider-Man Goes Mad. We can read another comic book here. I believe this is a Mysterio issue. This is Spider-Man decides he's starting to go a little fucking loopy. Bought some shit for a tea party. He's gonna swing around, cut loose. He sees a fucking burglar, but he realizes I'm starting to go fucking crazy. What he realizes, I think, is that Mysterio shooting a bunch of crazy images at him to fuck with him. He beats the guy up. He steals his fucking thing like Barzini in The Godfather. He's got fucking Jonah looking around looking for the copy boy. He's got no fucking pictures. Or I think his camera broke. He sees another letter from Ned Leeds. He realizes, look, dude, I know you fucking Ned Leeds, or you sending him fucking naked pictures of your fucking smushy fucking 60s pussy. Foswell, you're the man. I trust you. Get out there and get me the fucking story. So he's going out there. He's like, I want to get people to say that Spider Man's a piece of shit. So Flash Thompson is out there and he's getting pissed off and he's chasing the guy down. Liz Allen is kind of saying, Peter, you think you can help me study? You fucking hot little piece of ass. You thinking maybe you and me, we go somewhere and do a thing or two about a thing or two, learn a fucking couple of things here? So, of course, Peter's like, look, I think I'm going fucking crazy. They're saying a lot of bad shit about me. Betty Brant's ragging on me. She's dating somebody else. Flash Thompson's following Peter because Flash thinks that maybe Peter's got some fucking crazy shit going around. And then Peter throws up the spider signal, distracts Flash, leaps into fucking action. Betty Brant's still doing some shit. There's a cat in the fucking corner. He starts seeing Dr. Octopus and flipping out. He starts seeing the Sandman and flipping out, so he realizes this is Mysterio just fucking with him. He sees the Vulture. This is kind of like a filler issue. It feels like a filler issue. Sometimes, Stan and Steve might not have been able to get the script done. So they throw in what's called like a little filler action. Aunt May's worried. He's fucking doing some ring and runs here. He goes and sees some crazy guy that's sitting on top of the fucking ceiling. Now, again, you can incorporate this if you're doing a Mysterio villain. And you can even have Mysterio be the guy that pops up on the fucking holograms there if you don't want to use Dr. Octopus. Again, you don't need to use the Sinister Six villains just yet. No, I like that fucking Flash Thompson's got the little doggy following him. That's kind of cute. He sees J. Jonah Jameson. He starts yelling at him. He goes, "Get lost, kid. My heart bleeds for you." And he runs into the room and he says, Spider-Man's starting to confess. And just as Jonah comes in and Spider-Man's about to tell him, it all breaks up. Shit goes down. Beats him up. It's Quentin fucking Beck. He webs him up. The upside down thing. The fucking videos. All that shit. He says, Liz, you come hang out with me. Fuck Betty Brant. She's a cunt. I'm going to hang out with Liz Allen. We're going to go hang out and study. I'm going to go eat her box. Everything's going down. Spider-Man gets Liz Allen. The spider's web. We read the comic book. If you did your homework, look how far we are. So they are promoting Daredevil #7. So you see, It all works itself out in the end. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 titles currently in the Marvel Universe, including Spider-Man. This Marvel Universe gets bigger and bigger. Fantastic Four, Avengers, Daredevil, Thor, Strange Tales, Suspense, Astonish. Ah, it's such a beautiful thing. All right. Now we write. We are up to Amazing Spider-Man 25, the last comic book of our particular quadrant, to get the rest of our comic book. All right, so let's get some quick dialogue in here because, again, we're probably going to be writing in the exposition so we don't have to do any kind of cheese thing. But we have an opportunity here to throw some wise assery in here from Spider-Man. Or you can be asking him all the questions. Who are you? What are you doing here? What do you want with us? Now, Fancy Dan could be talking shit. What outfit you working for? What outfit you working for? Give me the answer, and I promise. What outfit you working for? Give us the answer. Give us the answer, and I promise a painless demise. In a montage of elusive moves, we see Fancy Dan using his tiny size and advanced agility to evade all of Peter's rapid-fire shots. So Fancy Dan is jumping at him, rolling himself into a human cannonball. You got style, mate. Essential. Essential in the Empire. You got style, mate. Essential in the Empire. But I'm a living weapon. Fancy Dan makes a knife thrust at Peter, slicing him across the chest. But I'm a living weapon. And we're going to do a cute little tribute here to The Dark Knight Returns by having Fancy Dan slice Peter across the chest and say, slice and dice. Slice and dice. So he slices Peter across the chest. Rolling himself into a human cannonball, Fancy Dan bounces himself into Peter, knocking him backwards toward the nearly destroyed wall. Okay, you got 3 panels here. Rolling himself into a human cannonball, Fancy Dan bounces himself into Peter, knocking him back towards the nearly destroyed wall. S effects of the bouncing, kicking, and smashing. Slice and dice. You get the stick around line here. You can have Peter answering him back, slice and dice, but Peter's got to get his ass kicked for about a minute or two here. Rolling himself, bounces into Peter, so fucking a human cannonballed on him. Don't you know, mate? The enforcers run things on the streets. Don't you know, mate? The enforcers run things on the streets of Empire. So if you're looking, and the idea is we got to tell the letterer, or you can make multiple versions of Fancy Dan to show off how he's bouncing around into Peter, no, into around, and eventually, around, and eventually into Peter. Each line can be said from a different version of Dan bouncing around. This way, if the letterer knows, don't just write all the lines from one bouncing version. But Emil may just draw one bouncing version. It's all really, a lot of the penciler will bring us some of his own into this. So if you're looking to make, don't you know, mate, the enforcers run things on the streets of Empire. So if you're looking to make a spark, don't you know, mate, the enforcers run things on the streets of Empire. So if you're looking to make a spark, oh, the enforcers run, okay, don't you know, mate, the enforcers run things on the streets of Empire. So if you're that bloody angel shooting those lasers, so if you're that bloody angel shooting those lasers across the sky, you can use us for your war. No. The enforcers run things on the streets of Empire. So if you're that bloody angel shooting those lasers across the sky, you can use us for your army. You might need. Don't you know, mate? The enforcers run things on the streets of Empire. So if you're that bloody angel shooting those lasers across the sky, you might need soldiers like us. I like that. Don't you know, mate? The enforcers run things on the streets of Empire. So if you're that bloody angel shooting those lasers across the sky, you might need soldiers like us. Peter then shoots a series of webs up against the ceiling, making for a large trap, while Fancy Dan gets ready for another bounce strike. Peter will say, "You're right, pal. I do need you." "You're right, pal. I do need you." He then roundhouse thrust kicks the bouncing Fancy Dan up into the trap. So do me a favor and stick around. I do need you. You're right, pal. I do need you. So do me a favor. So do me a solid and stick around. Boom! Kicks him and stick around. So do me a solid. Bam! And stick around. There you go. Fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger right there. Kicks his ass into the fucking web trap. And now we end it. And now we end our tale. 1 second. We're not going to need all 6 panels. Do more like a really cool splash. In a cool Batman esque splash shot, we see the defeated and bloody Fancy Dan trapped and crumpled in the spider's web, helpless and waiting for Peter to strike. You can even have him seeing stars. Slightly comical, but otherwise emphasizing the impact of the kick. By all the stars, who the devil are you, mate? Who the devil are you? By all the stars, what the hell? We can't do what the hell are you because they did that in Batman Begins. Who the devil are you? Close up shot shows Peter thrust his hand across Fancy Dan's neck. SFX of the thrusting grab, along with Fancy Dan choking from the power, the grip. Who the devil are you? Close up shot shows Peter thrust his hand across Fancy Dan's neck. SFX of the thrusting grab, along with Fancy Dan choking from the power of the grip. In our closing splash shot, we see Peter hanging upside down in full spot light glare with his cracked shooters and full black and silver trimmed costumed regalia. While hanging upside down, looking like a spider assassin, he grips Fancy Dan in full, nearly ripping him from the web like a spider about to consume his prey. Peter delivers the iconic line from Batman, but of course, with our twist. Who the devil are you? We get to call him Spider Man for the first time. I'm Spider Man. Spider Man. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, we finished the goddamn comic book, but just to be sure, let's do a quick rip through so we get 25 issues done. This is the Spider Splayer. It's kind of a cheesy story, to be honest with you. It's somewhere that early campiness, but again, we had Spider Man and Liz Allen. And the reason we'll go all the way here is because this is the true first introduction of Mary Jane. Spider Man sees some thugs, changes in, but he says, you know what, instead of fighting today, I'm just going to signal the spider signal, let the cops do the fucking work, take the pictures. And Spider Man uses his brain this time. He's a little bit lazy that night. Now, again, here we go. An appearance from Norman Osborn. So we know. What's this bullshit, man? Right to you tomorrow. So we know. We know. We want to use maybe Norman Osborn to be the mayor of Empire City as kind of like either like a throwaway for now, and then we introduce maybe the goblin elements later on. Yes, okay, fucking annoying emails. So again, I like when they use Norman Osborn in here. Don't worry about a thing. I'll take care of your ad personally, and I'll see you at the club tonight. So again, Norman Osborn. They start introducing Norman Osborn. Shows off the pictures. He's chilling with Peter. Peter starts to get annoyed by Betty Brant. And now this scientist, this name is Smythe. I'm an inventor. Now Smythe we have a part in here too. But again, I was never a big fan of the Spidey Slayers, to be completely honest with you. He was this crazy fucking guy. Now Peter's fucking with Jonah to get him to get this machine going and take more fucking pictures. Peter is getting annoyed by Bertie Brant. Goes, look, why don't you just go bang you stupid fucking Ned Leeds asshole? Peter's holding the spider, so the Spider Slayer actually attacks him, so it actually works. But Peter's able to get away with it by saying, I was holding the spider. It doesn't really do it. Now, of course, Betty Brant's being an annoying piece of shit. We had a reference to the Amazing Spider Man annual. Peter's like, look, why are you being a bitch and give me some fucking problems here, right? Flash sees Peter walking with Liz, and he says, look, I'm his buddy. I'm his best friend. And he says, look, you piece of shit. You and I are going to fucking fight after school. And Peter says, all right, you know what? I'm getting fucking nervous with you. I'm going to fucking knock your stupid ass unconscious. But this is iconic, of course, this particular issue, because this is the first issue where Peter runs out away from the fight. Liz Allen yells at Peter and says, you piece of shit if you go after Peter. He says, look, he leads a fucking mob crew. The Spider Slayer is also chasing after Peter. Everybody's chasing after Peter. There's a machine, a monster, a robot with extended fucking limbs and coils. Why does this man not use his powers for good? They said, look, we're going to go to Peter's house and jump in front of his fucking Aunt May. He shoots the gooey spider web onto him. The spider coils are going after him. I hated this fucking issue. Betty Brant says, look, let me sneak over to the fucking corner here and I'm going to knock the fucking plug out. They throw her out in a pink fucking dress and a stupid looking fucking hair. But we're going to get her in a strip poker game. So I got everything I need from fucking Betty Brant. They're all going to be waiting. Liz Allen's fucking scared. The spider robot's coming after him. He says, fuck you fucking spider robot. We're both going to go over here. I took these pictures that I sent these shots with Mary Jane here too for the strip poker piece. So this comic book had a lot to do because I used all these little still frames for my strip poker cover. So this has meaning because this is going to be part of the strip poker variant cover starring Liz Allen, Betty Brant, and Mary Jane Watson. So again, even though sometimes we don't like a particular storyline from an issue, we still are able to pull things out of it because we are a class of angels and thieves. So, of course, Peter gets some pictures. Mary Jane walks away. We still don't see her face yet. We will not see her face for another 19 issues. But Flash sees her. He says, holy shit, she's hot. Peter gets all the fucking tail. Mary Jane's completely yelling again and says, look, I just have to think for fucking costumes. She takes the fucking costume away. So again, now that we're up here at issue 25, I do know exactly which comics I have to read during my little hiatus. Fantastic Four. We have to go all the way up to 39. Although I think I'm going to read up to 50 because I want to read about the Galactus stuff. Avengers 16. Jesus. X-Men 11. Too hard. Thor. See, the problem is those Thors, you got to read all, you got to start from Journey into Mystery. I think it's like 83. That's about 20 issues. Strange Tales. That's a lot of fucking issues because we start there at 101 when the Human Torch first comes in. So that's like 40 fucking comic books. Tales of Suspense, which is the Hulk. You got to read some Hulk. Tales to Astonish, 68. Sergeant Fury, 18. And then finally, Daredevil, I believe they said they were up to 7, so this will be 8. So there you have a reading list. If you want to do this with other comic books, you got fucking 9 other choices right here. But again, we're writing Spider-Man. We just finished our first Spider-Man fucking comic book. How cool is that? Next time we will get up to issue 26. So we got to save this into our many favorites here. Come out of this. Back. What we got to do is get to 26. So we set this up for next time. Or next time we will jump into, it will be July 1st, 1965. What a beautiful year. All right, done there. We erase the old shit. See how fun. And we got fun. Oh, shit. What happened to the Fantastic Four? Give me a sec, class. I gotta get all twinged out here. Fantastic Four. Just give me 1 second to get all fixed up here. Then we're going to do proofread and budget. All right. I'm up to the Puppet Master, so I just want to get all fixed up here. All right, that's done. We are done reading comic books. Brought to you by the new Faro's Lounge Kickstarter. All right, class, let's go over our script real quick. 24 pages, done. Done, done, done. Let's read the fucker. The AracKnight, Empire Cityscape, a retro steampunk version of a timeless alternate reality New York, which we call Empire City. It's holiday time, winter time, Christmas time, with white blankets of snow being enhanced by the steam power propelling from the buildings and steamships and dirigibles. My parents named me after their favorite superhero, after their favorite storybook character. We could change that. We pan down to the cityscape and see an ethnic neighborhood, a Chinatown type vibe, lots of urban sprawl. People are going about their lives and dining. They were top scientists working on a revolutionary enhancement serum that would put Empire City on top of the evolutionary chart. We focus on a dive type restaurant, slinging noodles and chicken. Street food vendors provide steamy cuisine for waiting customers sipping tea. I would always love to sample Mr. Wu's latest steamy street cuisine whenever I would visit. We pan underneath the restaurant to reveal a secret underground science lab filled with tanks, filled with animal and insect specimens. We see Peter Parker's parents, Richard and Mary, hard at work on theories and calculations among the lab. As I got closer to a successful formula, I saw them less. Uncle Ben, we changed it from Lucky. Uncle Ben would be the one to pick me up after school. My father said the company would help cheer him up. If I fix that, yeah, it looks not neater. The door to the lab opens and we see young 8-year-old Parker running in with his backpack, hugging his mom, who is holding some beakers that Peter almost knocks out of her hands with the force of his hug. Flanking him is Uncle Ben, a retired widowed war pilot, smiling and admiring his nephew's spunk. Mom, Dad, easy Parker. Easy Peter. Easy Peter. I missed you too. We see Uncle Ben hand over a large bag of greasy food to Richard. Thanks again, Ben. I hope he wasn't too much trouble. Are you kidding? He knows all the museums better than I do. Kid's a true genius in the making. Curious and troublesome. Just like you. Uncle Ben lays out the food on the table while Richard and Mary take a much needed break. Take a break, why don't you both? I'm sure the world will remain intact for a few more hours. Very true, and I'm starving. Any progress? Unfortunately, each specimen has experienced a burst in strength, agility, and even cognitive abilities. But each enhancement is short lived. No. Positives? Each specimen has experienced a burst in strength, agility, and even cognitive abilities. But each enhancement is short lived, and in some cases fatal to the specimen. When the serum rejects it, or them. While Richard and Mary dine on steamy cuisine, we see Uncle Ben admiring the various glass tanks and enclosures. We see a lizard, an octopus, a scorpion, even a cage hanging from the ceiling with a small bird of prey, a vulture, a baby vulture. Each is exhibiting a fatigued behavior, as if showing the serum is wearing off, or in some cases, not taking to the specimen. You have a regular zoo here. How do you keep track? Working in coordination with PIM Labs. How do you keep track? We're working in coordination with PIM Labs. After all this time, we're finally having some luck with one particular specimen, a Wakandan black widow. We close up on the red cage, the glass cage that contains the black widow. There are advanced webbings, almost like the spider has built a luxury home inside the cage. We don't see the spider, just its creative webbing, showing that it has figured out a way to escape its glass, unknowing yet to the others. The spider has exhibited enhanced abilities long after the other specimen's powers have receded. We'll be moving forward, focusing specifically on the spider. Well, he's definitely created quite the condo here. Is he hiding, or have you sent him to the spa? What do you mean? I mean, where is he? Or it. SFX of Peter puking off panel. We see Richard and Mary turn towards Peter as he stumbles towards them, looking colorless and nauseous. Mom, Dad, I don't feel so good. Greasy food cartons and chopsticks fly everywhere. As Peter's parents panic as they approach him while the view is from his eyes, as he's about to pass out. Oh my God, Richard, the spider! It. Play the antivenom syringe. From Peter's POV, everything goes dark, except for a faint radioactive glow coming from the open bite wound of the spider, like a glowing beacon towards the next chapter of his life and evolution, the beginnings of his spider sense taking over. You see, we're going to put a lot of our art exposition in as exposition boxes. I don't remember any pain from the bite, just a numbing feeling, faint glow as everything went dark. I wasn't scared, but my heart kept pumping and pounding like a drum, like a theme song taking over my soul. Peter wakes up from the fever. His parents are sitting over him. His father is listening to his heartbeat with an instrument, while his mother brings over a hot mug of steaming tea. Peter is sweaty, but appears fine, with color returned to his face. He had us all worried, champ. How long was I? Too long, Peter. How are you? Close up on Peter, holding his hand over his wound, almost pushing away his father's stethoscope. I feel fine. Before his parents can examine him further, Peter has leaped out of bed in his sweaty pajamas so as to cut off his parents' concern. Ready to go ice skating. Rockefeller Center. What happened to Rockefeller? Rockefeller Center are our own steampunk version of a city center ice skating rink, surrounded by Christmas vendors and dancers and fellow ice skaters. It was their first night out in months. Everything was always about the secret serum, the one that was now apparently coursing through my veins, albeit laced with radioactive spider venom. But I wasn't about to let that spoil the evening. Close up at Peter getting away from his folks as he picks up speed. They look on proudly. The bite should have killed me. That's what I kept hearing my parents talking about. When they thought I was out of earshot, but at some point, nothing was out of range. Close up on Peter, proudly feeling his senses kicking in, giving him an almost turbo boost of speed as he easily slides past other skaters, almost arrogantly pushing them over as he blazes by. I felt the moves coming to me a mere second before they would happen, like staying one step ahead of a theory or equation. I felt strong. I felt fast. I felt close up on Peter as his abilities get out of whack and he starts to slip and comically awkward lose control of the ice. Peter crashes into an Xmas display, lights and decorations all coming down, SFX of the crashing. I remember my parents not letting me be embarrassed, and my father telling me the story of how he slipped on a similar ice patch on the day he asked out my mother. Shows a nice heartfelt moment before his parents get fucking iced. Walking home through the streets of Empire City, the Parkers go down an alley where we see a cloaked, thin figure following in the shadows. I shouldn't have been brave that night. I told them I was fine, but I shouldn't have said that I wanted to go. I should have said I shouldn't have been brave that night. I told them I was fine, but I should have said that I wanted to go straight home. This way, we may not have stopped back at the lab. Things may have been different. Close up on Peter as his spider sense starts to go off. Even with the senses kicking in for the first time, there was nothing I could do. My powers were useless. Peter's parents turn and see a younger version of the chameleon, Dmitri Kravenov, who is hidden in the shadows, almost disguised as darkness. Hello, hello, Dr. Parker. I understand you've made a breakthrough. I'm sorry, sir, I don't know what you're talking about. Close up on the gun protruding from the chameleon's shadow. The formula, Dr. Parker, or your life. Make it a merry for all parties involved. The formula isn't perfected yet. I don't bloody well care. You've had your orders, I have mine. Mary, take Peter and run now. I never questioned my father's motives. He must have known the assassin would have killed us all regardless. Oh, I should have read the directions. Close up on the gun protruding from the chameleon's shadow. We see a close-up of Richard taking a single cigar case out of his jacket pocket. Close up on the hand of Richard as he purposely fumbles the case as he hands it to the chameleon. We see Richard and the chameleon wrestle to the ground, and Richard is able to push the cigar case holding the secret formula into a sewer grate, where the case falls to its unknown fate. I never questioned my father's motives. He must have known the assassin would have killed us all regardless. In the ensuing struggle, the chameleon fires off a round directly into Richard's chest. SFX of the gunshot and death grunt. My mother became my shield. I remember her hands over my heart. It wasn't beating fast. I wanted to turn around. I wanted to help him fight. The chameleon then rolls over and blasts at Mary, who is attempting to escape with Peter. In time, I've learned to forgive my mother. She was doing the right thing. But I knew that assassin would let us escape. Even that young, the instinct was to finish him off. But I always blame that on the spider. No, even that young, the instinct was to finish him off. But I always blame that on the spider. Mary collapses on top of Peter as the chameleon stalks over to finish the job. This was there was this instant that kicked in right there, in that alleyway where my parents fell. In time, I've called it a spidey sense. Like I knew exactly where to go for his weakness. Peter reaches up and goes to grab and choke the chameleon. He activates the chameleon's chemical gas pouch, which helps him mold his face disguises to his shallow and skinny frame and padded face. I was reaching for his throat. I wasn't hesitating to finish him off. I wanted to break the demon in half. Coughing and gagging on gas, the chameleon runs off, leaving Peter to mourn his parents. SFX of the chameleon, coughing and running off through the swishing snow. The police couldn't find him, even with every steaming stream pointed at the center of Empire City. Even with every steaming stream pointed at the center of Empire City, they say he creatively disappeared into the crowd, like a chameleon. Bruce Wayne shot at Peter Parker over the dead bodies of his parents. Silent shot. Page 6. We transfer to the schoolyard of Midtown High. Caption across the panel reads, 8 years later. Peter is writing in his journal about the event described. He's doodling, drawing, alone, isolated, emo kid. We see the shot is from the perspective of Peter who is drawing in his journal. We see him write, like a chameleon, and draw a disfigured-looking version of the assassin he remembers from that night. The journal goes flying out of his hands as he is smashed backwards and off guard by a football. SFX of the football smashing into Peter. Heads up, Dick. Peter stands up, pissed off, clutching the ball while Flash and his friends taunt him. The kids in the schoolyard look on. Don't cry about it, bro. It was an accident. Yeah, toss it back, emo. Close up on Peter's rage as he whips the football back at Flash, which takes him out like a bullet. SFX of the ball and impact on Flash. Gotta remember the SFX. Underline the SFX. That's why we proofread. As I got older, I felt a great power taking me over, but I wasn't sure what to do with it, and I was never concerned. As Flash crashes against the wall unconscious, his friends charge at Peter. I didn't mind school, I mostly kept to myself. Took to my studies fine. I looked upon the students fine. They just didn't feel the same. Peter leaps up and smashes them into each other aggressively, knocking them both out with each other's heads. SFX of the carnage. They mistook my isolation for arrogance. I mistook their empathy for boredom. As security bursts in to break up the fight, we see Peter has already escaped into the shadows, his silhouette climbing up the nearest building while the crowd stands around the unconscious bullies. My rage had manifested into carnage, but they asked for it. We see Uncle Ben holding a bag of groceries entering his rooftop apartment. We see Peter sitting in the dark as Ben enters, looking out at the solar haze in the distance. Uncle Ben? How you doing, Peter? Cops are looking for a kid in a hoodie. Beat the shit out of a bunch of punks in the schoolyard. Put one in the hospital. They say he climbed up the walls and disappeared into the shadows. Close up on Peter looking lost and angry. They? Well, the kids in the yard gave a description, but in the end, none of them ratted, regardless of how you think they feel about you. Ben walks over and gives Peter a bottle of soda. I didn't mean to, Ben. I guess I just lost control. I mean, what's the point of having this kind of power if people are going to piss on me? Well, that's the rub of it. Well, that's the rub, isn't it? Your parents dedicated their lives to enhancing the cause and evolution of mankind into gods. And you were their greatest achievement, even if it was an accident. Close up. Close up on Ben and Peter having a heartfelt moment, as Ben clanks his bottle into Peter's, causing some of the gas and fizz to erupt from Peter's bottle, making an analogy of what he's about to say. I was there that day, Peter. I saw the fear in your father's eyes. A bite from that spider should have killed you. Instead, it gave you its power. And with great power comes great responsibility. Peter stands out of his chair and goes to the edge of the rooftop, staring off into the colorful night haze taking over the skyline of Empire City. So what's my next move, Uncle Ben? Well, it's safe to say that your school days are over, and there's your parents' trust fund. You have the mind and means to go and do whatever you want. So get out of Empire City for a little while. There are still some old timers downtown. I'll cover you with the cops. Jump to a montage of Peter traveling the world, working in various settings as a photographer, building a portfolio. First, we show Peter flying above ancient ruins, the ancient ruins of a fallen steampunk empire, while on a hot air balloon taking pictures. We can see the Callow of Latveria in the distance, or he's over the ruins of old Valyria. I took Uncle Ben's advice and traversed the multiverse, finding a new passion in photography. We cut to Peter working on a farm, shirtless and muscular, surrounded by admiring females and fellow young farmers. I didn't blow through the trust fund, finding ways along my travels to subsist, while finally gaining new skills, along with new friends. We cut to Peter taking pictures of all the crew while he was working with on the farm. Partying on a treasure salvage trip. In the culmination of my travels, I found myself aboard a salvage crew, willingly shanghaied in order to fetch the supposed lost treasures of Atlantis, mainly getting lost at sea. We see the ship is successful. Peter is taking pictures as the crew raises a net filled with a few Atlantean Easter eggs, glowing and shaking off seaweed. Oddly enough, we actually turned up successful. It was going to be a boon for my budding career, to prove the rumors of Atlantis were true. We see a pirate ship pull up alongside the salvage ship. Fortunately, our victory was short-lived. As with every treasure come its trolls. We see Peter attack the salvage crew with their weapons, taking them by surprise as hostages and victims. Scour. They were using us to raise their bounty, and I knew in my heart they weren't planning to take us hostage. It always seemed like the problem with the world was too many villains and not enough heroes. Who's right? You're right. Valid business thing. Fucking scam. All right. Peter jumps one of the pirates and relieves him of his gun. I had no strategy other than spontaneity. I never wanted to touch guns after what happened to my parents. Two other pirates charge at Peter, but he deflects them overboard. I thought if I could keep them all engaged long enough, the rest of the crew could escape, or possibly help me fight back. I had no idea what I was doing other than trying to be the hero. As all the hostages duck for cover, Peter takes the gun and gives chase to the rest of the pirates, who open fire on it. SFX of the gunfire. I remember the look and gasps of my enemies providing enough confusion to help me elude their fire, but the bullets never seemed to run out. Peter scales up a post to avoid the gunfire as the pirates and captains all look on in both horror and awe. I decided to improvise and play off their ignorance. With a look of anger and vengeance in his eyes, Peter leaps at the pirates, taking out as many of them as possible as their guns and bandanas fly everywhere. Even after everything I've been through and everything I expected, I knew I was no killer. But I wanted to take them out, save the crew, and understood death may be the only available option. One pirate goes flying down the gully of the ship, landing on top of a pile of explosives. Unfortunately, I was right. I left Empire City to avoid my anger. I finally found passion and perspective, and all it took was a ship full of pirates to remind me of my failures. SFX at the pirate's gun going off, sets off the pile of explosives in a spark. Both ships explode in the ocean, sending body and ship parts everywhere. I took out the bad guys, but in the process, I saved no one. Peter will be the only survivor, as we see him floating unconscious in the ocean, strewn along with debris and corpses. I was no hero. I was wasted potential. I kept thinking about what you told me about power and responsibility, but regardless of my involvement, it all ended the same way. Pan out to show Peter being sucked along a current and almost drifting aimlessly along the ocean routes along with sea life. You can have fun with this panel and toss in a submariner or Atlantean Easter eggs. The only solace I could find was I took out the pirates, saving any future excursions from their wrath. So perhaps the next crew that discovered Atlantis would survive to tell the tale. Eventually, we see Peter wash up along a shoreline. It is the shoreline of the savage land. It was that satisfaction that I felt would calm me into the cold hand of death. But she spit me out and left me along the shore. As Peter lays unconscious, Peter lies unconscious. A pair of bare feet squish into the sand, arriving to discover his body. I don't know if this will find you, Ben, but if this does and I don't, I want you to at least know that I took your advice. We see Peter's unconscious body strapped to the back of what looks like a prehistoric beast. reminiscent of Maximus and Gladiator being carried away by slavers. I would let fate and faith decide my fortune. Oof, 10 pages in, man. I'm fucking wiped already. Peter wakes up in a cold sweat. He is underneath a net over a hut bed. There is a fire in the distance as there is a muscular shadow. Rest easy, boy. You have enhanced healing capabilities, but even a mutant would need time to expel that much water. Coming into the shot out of the shadows, we see Sergei Kravenov, aka Craven the Hunter. He is in all of his classic regalia, the animal head vest, the sacred bone necklace dangling over a large nest of graying chest hair. He looks like Sean Connery in Highlander. He is a strong but aging warrior, a knight of old. Where am I? You are in a land beyond the scope of geography, past the waves that crushed Atlantis. You are in the savage land, but the rules of Empire City can still apply. You know me. You know where I'm from? Craven approaches the bed and gives Peter a large mug filled with a steaming brew. Without hesitation, Peter gulps down the brew. I knew your parents. We never met formally, but I provided the specimens for their research. I am responsible for your birth, Peter, which means you're responsible for their death, Mr. Kravenov. Sergei Kravenov. I am a hunter. Close up on Peter, not wasting any time as he is staring up at Craven. Do you know who pulled the trigger? I have theories, but the trigger man is but one claw. You want the head of the serpent, and I can help you with that. Not one claw, one talent, but the trigger man is but one talent. You want the head of the serpent, and that I could help you with. Out of the kindness of your own heart, I assume. What's this going to cost me, Craven? What's this going to cost me, Kravenov? Craven, playing it cool, walks out of the hut and to the entrance of his hideout, ignoring Peter as he follows out of bed behind him. I see a series of failures has left you cynical, laced in negative cloud. What makes a knight, Peter, is not the banners. It's not the trophies or the kills. It's not the maidens or the voyages. Then what is it? Peter will run out towards the exit to confront Craven. He nearly stops short and falls overboard. As we pan out to show Craven's gorgeous, four-season savage land-like jungle cabin lounge villa. As we show he's living well as a makeshift king in the savage land. I lied. It's all of it. Oosh. Cut to a montage of Peter training with Craven, a la Yoda and Luke in the Dagobah system. We see Peter swinging through the jungle like Tarzan past prehistoric beasts and baboons. Beats? Really? Beasts and baboons that swing past him and among him. Craven watches from his perch as he is mentoring Peter. How many water left? Yes, we do. I finally found a class worthy of my attention, and a teacher who has taken an interest. I'm finding a way to harness my gift, and I'm getting a great workout. We see Peter and Craven in hand-to-hand combat, wrestling over a large log over a creek as they train in wrestling. I learned that beyond the benefits of science and technology, there is nature and instinct, learning how to use both power and gravity, becoming its master. We see them both hanging upside down in a hunter-like vampire position, as they are meditating and stalking. This man, this mentor, he knows who killed my parents. But whatever Spidey sense is telling me what he knows is telling me. But whatever Spider sense is telling me he knows, I know it wasn't him. But there is a connection, and I don't know how to ask without ending this adventure. We show a close-up of Peter hanging off a large, curved, concave cliff, as he is hanging by one finger and balancing himself against the large distance below him. I see the world differently now, from a point of privilege. Kravenov calls me a lost knight, and while I enjoy the term, I still don't know what war he's fighting for. We see Craven showing Peter how to make a small explosion of powder and fire, almost like an uncle and nephew working on a science experiment. Craven spoke of an oncoming war between gods and kings, where men and monsters would be caught in the middle and used as chess pieces. He said my parents were casualties in that war. We finish with Peter sitting over a boiling cauldron over a steaming fire. Peter finally comes out and asks, who killed my parents, Kravenov? And he says, a young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine before he turned evil. No, I'm kidding. You know, Peter, when Empire City left the Union, it became its own free, independent kingdom. The rest of the nation fell into civil war, wiped out half the population. Those that survived were forced to brave the urban jungle that remained. But not every knight was as gifted as us. Civil War? Kravenov, how old are you? Old enough to know there's another war coming. And if you're not prepared, you will be a slave. So choose your place, Peter. Among the men or among the masses. Close up on Craven, the fire reflecting in his eyes, making almost demonic image, as Craven stares down at Peter. Who is the war with? Who is the enemy, Kravenov? Death. Craven is looking to live forever. All right, kids, we're halfway through the proofread. Are we feeling? We're feeling good? Our extended final class for this particular chapter. We shall be back soon. I have to do some reading first, and then we'll have more classes for your asses. What happened? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why aren't you turning on? 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. There we go. Ooh. Ah, it feels good in my brain. We cut to the outside of a smoking jungle hut. Where we see Craven and Peter peering in from the outside. We hear loud thumping drums, S effects of the drums thumping in powerful rhythm, the bass almost shaking the ground. The evolution of our kind began here. When man first walked out of the woods, he was no more than a target, a meal to a dominant species. It was when we learned how to hunt that we gained superiority. But there were those who theorized that what if we could take the best of the beasts and merge it into a man's blood? That's how gods are created. Or monsters. Where are you taking me, Kravenov? Peter and Craven stalk forward. Inside that tented cauldron, you will find the answer that you've been seeking. You will find the cult that worships the dark gods. You will find the formula, or the term that you like to use, the equation. The equation for immortality. Close up on Peter, totally hypnotized by Craven's words as he steps through the entrance of the hut. You see, Peter, a serum is technically a poison, a venom drawn from only the most dangerous creatures on this planet and beyond. Almost every one and everything it touches, it terminates. A symbiotic connection that turns to smothering and eventually rejection. Once Peter enters the hut, he sees a small tribe of savages having a sweat lodge. In the center of the sweat lodge is a boiling cauldron, inside of which we see a concoction brewing under a steaming cloud, lorded over by a witch doctor in the center of the sweat lodge. We see the carcass of a large snake serpent-like creature hanging in the background, blood dripping from its wounds like a vampire's victim. SFX of the drums. I've been coming here for many cycles. This tribe, this land is the closest I can get to achieving that taste of immortality. But like many other creatures in the jungle, I have grown old and immune to the potion. But I am not ready to court Mistress Death. So like everything else in this game, I must up the ante. I must add to the equation. Before Peter could react, we see the steam coming out of the cauldron has enveloped him in an almost hypnotic trance, along with the drums. I thought my time had come, and then I heard about you, another knight gifted by glorious genetics, which is why I spent the last year following you on your journey, from a safe distance, hunting you, observing you, eliminating your distractions. The salvage crew, the pirates. That was close up on Peter's hypnotized face as Peter runs a talon secured onto his pinky across Peter's cheek. On Craven's pinky, we see a pinky ring, slightly open at the center, which we see contains a poisonous toxin. On the pinky ring, we see the logo of a specter, a demonic-looking octopus-like creature. We see it as a poisonous nerve toxin on the talon tip, as Craven is paralyzing Peter to harvest him. Casualties of war, Peter. We are knights, bound to aid in each other's evolution. I am the hunter, and you are defeated. Peter comes to, and he is covered in sweat, as he is tied up and suspended over the boiling cauldron. He is restrained by the tribesmen, as Craven is holding a large and sharp blade. Steam is everywhere. SFX of the drums. I have hunted and harvested every predator known to man. I have swallowed their hearts. I have consumed their souls. And now, Peter, I ask you to make that sacrifice. And if it doesn't work, another casualty of war then. Even in his captured sweaty state, Peter attempts to stall. Why not work out an installment plan? There's plenty of blood and organs to go around. All we need is a freezer and some patience. Your levity in this current position has earned my respect. You are a brave knight. Now, man, I'm just stalling. And you're no knight, just a cheap shot artist. Another bully in the schoolyard. Close up on the annoyed Craven, raising his blade and hovering over Peter. The guilt over your parents led you to this trap. My anger outweighs my guilt. My anger is what makes me powerful, and you're out of time. In a burst of anger and strength, Peter is stalled long enough to regain his strength, which he uses to snap his arms forward to snap his restraint ropes. SFX of the ropes snapping, as steam goes wayward in all directions, as Peter will be falling on top of the cauldron. No! We pan to the outside of the hut, as steam is erupting from every corner as we see it collapsing into an explosion of steam and escaping tribesmen. SFX of the hut collapsing. Oddly enough, it was in this moment that I finally understood I was truly gifted and not cursed, and that's what finally killed my fear. We see a large steam trail following Peter as he leaps from the exploding and melting hut towards a canopy of trees and vines to swing to safety. It was in that moment that I finally wanted to come home. I just had one more loose end. Page 15. Swinging through the vines, Peter is caught off guard as Craven spear tackles him. SFX of the Craven spear tackling Peter, knocking the wind out of him. I know most people aren't able to move on unless they accept some form of closure in their lives. We see both of them tumbling down through branches along the oncoming stampede below the trees. SFX of all the branches snapping as they tumble down and through. SFX of the oncoming stampede below. But I'm not most people. Falling into the stampede, we see Craven trampled a la Mufasa in The Lion King, while Peter eludes an oncoming beast. If you don't take a stand and accept your gifts, the world may just walk all over you. Jumping over the beast, Peter lands next to Craven, attempting to help him. Even in the face of evil and the anxiety of fear, I won't let that change who I am. As Peter lifts up Craven, they are both smashed by a large prehistoric tail swatting them. SFX of being swatted. With great power comes great boom, they're swatted. They both launch into the air and take out a pterodactyl in the process. SFX of the pterodactyl being taken out. Plummeting over the edge, Peter grabs onto a protruding branch. I know this isn't all lip service because no matter how hard road that has taken, no matter how hard the road. I know this isn't all lip service because no matter how hard the road is taken, the only thing I have now that I lost all those years ago was the will to live. But I didn't die that night with my parents. And I don't plan on dying now. Craven then grabs onto Peter's neck, yanking him hard enough to break the branch. They're both choking each other, grappling as they plummet down the cliff. I am a student of science. I am a spawn of the spider. And I'm a big fan of wrestling. In a brilliant splash shot, Peter turns at the right time and Craven takes the full brunt of the rock edges at the bottom, breaking every bone in his body. Peter stands over the broken and dying Craven. It would be poetic, wouldn't it? The hunter finally hunted down. Helpless? I could leave you here, Kravinoff. Feast for crows. Or I can give you a warrior's death. A knight's burial. If you follow the code. I want the name. What is his name? Close up on Craven as he expires. With his dying breath, he says the name. Dimitri. We cut back. God damn the fuck you with the fucking memories. We cut back to the overscape of Empire City. A steampunk blend of cyberpunk, not cybertrunk. Of cyberpunk glowing towers shooting holographic beams of advertising. It's got a Blade Runner feel but more colorful. Caption across the panel reads, Meanwhile, back in the Empire City. Back in the Empire City. Back in the Empire City. We pan down to the streets of Empire City where we see Ben Parker walking along with a bag of groceries in one arm and an open journal in the other. He is wearing his old beat up fighter pilot jacket while he is reading the journal that Peter had sent a while back from all the narration you've been reading and lettering. But I've learned a few things in my travels, Uncle Ben. But rather than keep prattling on like an entitled renegade, I feel there is something I could do with my gifts. That is, if it's finally safe to come back, because I can't do this without you. We see Ben on a steam elevator, surging upwards to his rooftop home, as the purple haze of sunset glows over the Empire City below and around him. I have the means for vengeance. I can jump pretty damn high. I can heal pretty damn quick. But all of it is fodder, unless I have the guide. Close up on Ben, closing the journal tightly as he has come to the last page before opening the door to his home. But I also know, Ben, that I have my mission and I'm following a knight's code. So I'm asking for your advice, not for your approval. As Ben comes into his home, he sees Peter hanging upside down in a meditating like position as he hangs over the roof, over the porch, overlooking the backdrop of Empire City glowing underneath. So what do you say, Uncle Ben? Peter leaps down and faces his Uncle Ben. Will you help me? In a heartwarming panel, Uncle Ben embraces Peter. So we get that moment that he never got in the other comics, so we can do it here in this multiverse story. Spider-Man Elseworlds, the heartwarming hug shot. Like Indiana Jones hugging his father Henry Jones in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Oh God, this is a lot of reading. Woo! All right. As Peter and Ben are hugging, their moment is immediately interrupted by revolving images taking over the sky. The blaring almost pushes them over as they hear a powerful but muffled voice blaring across the city skyline. Good evening, Empire City. We interrupt all broadcasts and apologize for any delays. But we've come here to do business. Peter and Ben turn and stare out at the skylines of Empire City in a splash page as the Sinister Six has taken over the broadcast and satellites and holograms of all the buildings, which form a hologram like pyramid that flashes imagery of all the familiar Sinister Six villains. We see in the center a specter from James Bond like octopusy creature in the sky, showing that whoever represents this creature is the leader. We can also have Sinister Six Spider-Man like Easter eggs for Kraven, the Vulture, the Sandman, Mysterio, Electro, whatever you can play with in the hologram splash page. Think Bangkok and Manila meets steampunk. I'll send along references. It was during the Civil War that the city became a kingdom, and that kingdom became rich by feeding all sides, filling the angles with angels, dancing with demons. You are master mathematicians, so I implore upon you to consider both cost and casualties, because we are prepared for war, and your successes have made you soft. But I will not only issue idle threats, I merely make both a business proposition and, if necessary, a demonstration on behalf of myself and my associates. We merely ask and promise for a one-time fee, a fee that we have calculated is both fair and ambitious, as we plan to use your empire's tribute as protection from our own. And before you return with idle callbacks, your captains and queens offering machismo and malice, I will offer you as a courtesy my first move in the game. We are asking for a piece of land and water, or what your people have valued, 10 billion in gold bullion. Fuck off! Goddamn asshole! Fucking texting me now. 10 billion in gold bullion. Instructions will be provided after acceptance is made public. We don't plan to hide our intentions. Failure to kick up will result in the complete and total destruction of the upcoming launch of the Mars colony. Empire City's greatest triumph will end in utter disaster. We have spoken. You know the deadline. Good day, Empire City. Carry on. Still staring out at the disappearing holograms, Ben and Peter are taken aback and astounded by what they just witnessed. But Peter has a determined look on his face. Well, this looks like a job for. I got nothing. Maybe I failure to kick up. We're asking for a piece of land and what a value. Failure. Failure of compensation. Failure of compensation will result in the complete and total destruction. I get rid of the we bullshit too. A fee that we a fee that we have calculated is both fair and ambitious. There you go. This looks like a job for Good Day Empire City. Instead of good day and then carry on, I'm going to say carry on Empire City. Carry on Empire City. We have spoken. You know the deadline. Carry on Empire City. Carry on Empire City. Carry on Empire City. This looks like a job for. I got nothing. Which brings us to. Yep. You got the yips, yips, yips. Page 19, here we go. We cut to the next morning, where we show Peter and Ben walking towards the Chinatown district, the location of Peter's parents' old lab. You think this place is still intact? The people that owned the restaurant never asked any questions. Parents were their best customers. Then why would that guy, slipping through a secret entrance in the Chinese restaurant through the dumb waiter, Peter and Ben enter his parents' secret lab? Then why would that guy announce his intentions? The octopi in the sky. Because he's showing his ignorance. Because he's showing his arrogance, or in his mind, creating fear. So he can observe how the public will react to his threats and what form of security upgrades they will showcase should they intend to turn him down. Inside the dark lab, we see cobwebs of what used to be an intact lab. The equipment seems to be fine, just unattended to. The Mars colony is a big deal. 4 years of round the clock labor and dreams pumped into that vessel. 5 years, we say 4 years? 4 years of round the clock labor and dreams pumped into that vessel, along with the 4 astronauts going along for the ride. Whoever this guy is, he picked his spot. So what do? First, we prepare. Then we climb the pyramid of crime in Empire City, and through a series of thugs, find our way to the tip of the hologram. Close up on Peter as Ben turns the lights on, and we see some old computer monitors and specimen tanks light up as if brought back to life. This place could definitely use a firm scrubbing. Why don't you get started? Why don't you get started while I go look for something they left behind? Maybe something we could use. What do I look like? Alfred? I like that. We cut to a montage of Peter and Ben prepping equipment in his parents' old lab. We see Peter working on what will become his web shooters as he focuses on targets with his exoskeleton of web shooters in its ground stage. What do you think, Ben? Not as clumsy as a blaster. Elegant weapons. Elegant weapons. Wait. Not as clumsy as a blaster. An elegant weapon. Oh, God damn it. An elegant weapon. Why? An elegant weapon. What do you think, Ben? What do you think, Ben? What do you think, Ben? Not as clumsy as a blaster. An elegant weapon. I think you're gonna need a suit, kid. We talking tuxedo or scuba? We see Peter sketching out what will become his Spider-Man suit, while Ben looks on in comical envy. Red and blue? Are you kidding? You look like a clown in his pajamas out there. So you're saying all black and lightweight. I'm saying stealth and darkness, but if you want to be a showman, perhaps a little silver trim. Perhaps a little silver trim. We cut to a shot of a dark figure overlooking the cityscape of Empire City. We see it is from his new extended bedroom loft, which has the couch bed jutting out into the city, almost like a bedroom open to the deep sky around Empire City, like his rooftop lair. Keep the figure in darkness here as we don't want to show off the outfit just yet. So what about a hideout with base? The rooftop apartment is yours, kid. I've been saving it for you. I'm looking forward to living closer to the ground. The dark figure then falls forward in a free fall. Whatever these terrorists have planned, my bet is they already have planted pods all over Empire City. So you'll have to start rattling some cages, springing the assorted traps. Extending his wrist and forearm, we see the figure shoot out a long, thick strand of web, which catches onto a nearby glowing skyscraper. Make enough of a name for yourself, you may just spin them into your web. The pull from the web springs him upward, where he almost comes into a direct silhouette with the full moon shining over Empire City. But beware the spotlight, kid, because anyone with that kind of firepower will be willing to go down with the ship and take you to the bottom along with it. A bolt of lightning shoots across the sky, which crosses over with Spider-Man swinging over the moonlight, giving it the dark tribute silhouette to the cover of The Dark Knight Returns. I should have been there that night. Maybe things would have been different. Perhaps somewhere in the infinite fabric of time they are. That's why I'll be there for you now and see this story through. Close-up shot of the lightning flash over Spider-Man's head as his spidey sense begins to go off like crazy, alerting him to danger below. He sees below him with his enhanced vision the silhouette of three figures, which we reveal to be the enforcers. Fancy Dan, Montana, Ox. Caption across the bottom of the panel reads, "And now, enter the enforcers." Did we do... Yeah, we paneled all that up. All right, so let's do this. 4 pages to go, everybody. We thank you for your patience. We cut down to the inside of a vault of shiny gems, where we see security guards knocked out and tied up. At the center of the carnage, we see the enforcers, standing and staring proudly at their bounty. Ox, the man-child looking muscle. Montana, the lasso-wielding cowboy. Fancy Dan, the leader of the group, tiny but deadly master martial artist. Caption. Across the page. Introduces them to the reader. Peter, Ox, he says it. Ox, the man-child of the trio. Montana, the lasso-wielding Cali. Ox, the man... We don't need this now. Sorry, I was all screwed up. Ox, the man-child of the trio. Montana, the lasso-wielding caballero. Fancy Dan, the leader of the group. Tiny but deadly. Master of the martial arts. As they exit the vault, someone cuts the lights. SFX of the lights going dark. Keep your eyes peeled, boys. We've got a visitor. I don't suppose you reveal yourself. Make it all easier for us kids. I don't suppose you'll put the gems back. Perhaps take a train and go find yourself. Clad in his suit but hidden by the darkness, Peter leaps at the enforcers, sending them in all directions of evasive maneuvers. Oh well, let's just beat the crap out of each other instead. Peter first faces off with the Ox, who catches him from behind with a vicious bear hug, while Fancy Dan taunts him. Sorry to end your night early, kid, but you're a pancake. Crouching down with the Ox on top of him, Peter pretends to give up while pressing his hands and feet. While pressing his hands and feet down against the ground. Oh my God, you're right, sir. I'm in way over my head. Do over. On second thought, with a massive push off the ground, Peter drives himself and the Ox up with great force to the ceiling, making it smash open and taking out Ox in the process. SFX of the ceiling smashing and Ox being crushed by the ceiling debris. On second thought, you're toast. 3 pages to go. As Peter gets to his feet, we see the bright spotlights of Empire City beaming through the hole in the ceiling. Fancy Dan and Montana both leap at Peter from the shadows of the beams, hitting him at the same time with a combo move. Tonight, I learned my first lesson as a costume rogue. Powers only get you halfway. Staggering backwards, Peter shoots his arm forward and is about to use his web shooter on Fancy Dan. The force of the lasso snaps, but he is lassoed on his arm by Montana. The force of the lasso snaps Peter's web shooter, rendering it useless, and weapons are no guarantee. Peter then uses his strength to yank the lasso as hard as he can. So one must use improvisation. Peter hits Montana with a lariat-style clothesline as he's pulled him in by his own lasso. SFX. And a love. Professional wrestling. Montana flips upside down and goes crashing out the window. Happy trails, cowboy. We go, say hello to Liberace, asshole. Fancy Dan gets into a fighting stance, brandishing a small blade as he faces off with Peter. Okay, boy, you stepped in a pile, so now I'm gonna have to run you through. Age 23. We see a rapid fire shot of Peter firing multiple web shooter blasts at Fancy Dan. What outfit you working for? Give us the answer and I promise a painless demise. Not painless, a rapid. And I promise a rapid demise. Give us the answer and I promise a rapid demise. In a montage of elusive moves, we see Fancy Dan using his tiny size and advanced agility to evade all of Peter's rapid fire shots. You got star, mate, essential in the Empire, but I'm a living weapon. Fancy Dan makes a knife thrust at Peter, slicing him across the chest. Slice and dice. Rolling himself into a human cannonball, Fancy Dan bounces himself at Peter, knocking him backwards towards the nearly destroyed wall. You can make multiple versions of Fancy Dan to show off that he's bouncing around and eventually into Peter. Each line can be set from a different version of Dan bouncing around. Don't you know, mate? The enforcers run things on the streets of Empire. So if you're that bloody angel shooting those lasers across the sky, you might need soldiers like us. Peter then shoots a series of webs up against the ceiling, making a large web trap, while Fancy Dan gets ready for another bounce attack. You're right, pal. I do need you. So do me a solid and stick around. He then roundhouse thrust kicks the bouncing Fancy Dan up into the trap. SFX of the thrust kick smashing Fancy Dan upward. So do me a solid and stick around. In a cool last page. In a cool Batman-esque splash shot, we see the defeated and bloody Fancy Dan trapped and crumpled in the spider's web, helpless and waiting for Peter to strike. You can even have him seeing stars, slightly comical but otherwise emphasizing the impact of the kick. Close-up shot shows Peter. Why hold the stars? Who the devil are you? Close-up shot shows Peter thrust his hand across Fancy Dan's neck. SFX of the thrusting grab, along with Fancy Dan choking from the power of the grip. In our closing splash shot, we see Peter hanging upside down in full spotlight blare, with his cracked shooters and full black and silver trim costume regalia. While hanging upside down, looking like a spider assassin, he grips Fancy Dan in full, nearly ripping him from the web, like a spider about to consume its prey. Peter delivers the iconic line from Batman, but of course with our twist. I'm Spider-Man. Who the devil are you? I'm Spider-Man. And fini. Black web shooters. In the climactic scene, the battle between Parker and the Chameleon. Dimitri the Chameleon is a terrorist trying to sabotage a major event in Empire City. That major event the Chameleon is going to sabotage the launch of the Mars colony, which is being piloted by the Fantastic Four. In the end, the Chameleon be dressed as Spider-Man, and Spider-Man will inadvertently take the blame for the possible sabotage, even though he saves the day. All right. So we can get rid of that. Peter becomes a photographer for Empire Mag, Maxim type magazine. I like JJJ being the madman type of boss, where he'll, of course, rip on Spider-Man, and Peter works for him as a photog, but fashion, crime, life. Peter's going to be like Vicky Vale. He would be more confident, older in his 20s. We got the Vicky Vale shit we got, too. We need to definitely end this story with Spider-Man being a fugitive, taking the blame for the near sabotage of the Mars colony, carrying the Fantastic Four to their fate. So we've written that part, so we can get rid of this chunk. Uncle Ben is Peter's Alfred. Our villain is the chameleon. We've gotten that. 3 variant covers. We've talked about it. Henry Craven the Hunter being Henry Ducov. Chameleon could be the son of Craven instead of his brother. Chameleon could have been experimented on as a kid and then gained his powers through similar means as Peter getting bit by the spider. Could be. Chameleon could have bit Dimitri as just a classic spy. There's the dress angle, which I was considered connecting his powers through touch, or definitely the blank face, the skinny frame. He should be the anti-Spider-Man, a Bond villain, or a henchman for bigger villain. He carries molds and masks and pellets. The idea is that through he needs to establish some form of contact in order to imitate the subject, besides being a master of disguise. Spider-Man and Chameleon are connected by their respective body reactions to the serum and how they were infected with it. Chameleon had been tested directly and has rejected him, much like the specimens in Richard and Mary's lab. These molds form the faces of his victims, and it can add to it with his various disguise paraphernalia. Why is the chameleon going to sabotage the Mars colony? Is he doing it independently, or is he doing it as a job for someone bigger? The Sinister Six could be attempting to hold Empire City for ransom, which we've already done. They send their thug to Chameleon, a hired goon, to do the job. His skills are perfect for the sabotage. The Sinister Six going to hold Empire City hostage. Okay. The chameleon could be looking to take his father's place in the Six. We can even have a scene where Chameleon reports in to the rest of the Six. Boom. The threat and rants will be shown via hologram or privately, so the Sinister Six will be privately threatening. No. Peter will leave Empire City, dropping out of high school and taking over the world to go up against pirates, safari, cool Indiana Jones type shit. We got that. Savage Land and mentored by Craven. Craven could provide the spider. We've gotten that. You're the son I should have had, Peter. Craven falsely lets Peter believe he can replace his father. Peter will eventually come back to his parents' abandoned lab using their schematics. We got all this. See, we used our notes. Uncle Ben will help Peter put together a utility belt. We don't get the utility belt yet, but we'll get to that, so we'll keep that here. Dr. Octopus, he can be off screen, watching a bunch of screens. All of the aliens are the Tinkerer. The Tinkerer could be a throwaway at the end of the story now. Fuck that. Peter will have an incident with a bully and nearly cripple him. Like it. Takes up photography, adventure with the pirates. He's taking pictures with the treasure salvage group. Peter saves the day, survives. We used all of our notes. Yay! Peter wants to harvest Peter's blood. Craven wants to. Chameleon comes back dressed as Craven to fuck with Peter. Yeah, I like that. Chameleon could want the formula to cure his own condition. Yeah. I like Chameleon coming back as Craven to fuck with Spider-Man. Kirk Connor's serum of regeneration can be played into the work of Richard and Mary, perhaps even a target of the chameleon. We'll keep that for now. Betty Brant is the Miss Moneypenny, first Bond girl of our story. Dr. Octopus, the leader of the Sinister Six, or the Spectre. Dr. Octopus, Craven could be a member, and of course, we need an allusion to the OCD type thing where it can only be 6 because the number could play into some sort of characterization. I like that. In the end, Dr. Octopus will either the vial formula that was lost in the sewer, or it's something vital so you can have the last laugh in the final panel of our graphic, where Spider-Man has taken out both the chameleon and Craven. Dr. Octopus said there's now an opening in the 6. All right, we got to that. Octopussy Ring, Sinister Laugh, Case of Cognac, we got it. 3 variant covers. See, we got our 3 variant covers. We've gone over these variant covers. We know them already. We can have the ransom demand when we show the footage of the Fantastic Four astronauts getting ready to move into the prepare to launch the Mars colony. All right. We get rid of that. Norman Osborn is the mayor of Empire City and one of the 6. Yeah, I like that. All right, let's get our 3 variant covers here first. And these are our notes that we're going to put into the next file. Three variant covers. So we have our 3 covers. Steel Bikini Mary Jane by Iago Maya. Yakuza by Jose Paris. Retro Spider-Man by Renato Camillo. Cover 4, possible holofoil, polychrome. Recolor, Yakuza, Mary Jane. Right. Now, first things first, let's just get our notes out of here so this file is completely complete. Copy. This file is done. We turn it into a PDF. AracKnight 1. I'm going to save that to our desktop. It's fucking finished, my friends. The AracKnight #1 is finished. 4 variant covers. 2 already in production. As soon as my comic book is currently finished, we'll start this one. Just got to work out the budget real quick, which we're going to do right now. Once I'm done peeing my pants. All right. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. I might even have a link up to it so you can have it for yourselves. Okay, so start our new file. The AracKnight 2. One world, we're living in one world. Ready? And our notes now go to the AracKnight 2 file. Now, very quick, we're going to do some calculations. But unfortunately, first I got to pee. So let's do this. You go look at this screen real quick, and I'm going to pee. What happens when you drink 90 gallons of water while you're writing comic books? All right, so a 24-page comic book. 24-page comic book is 150 a page when you go with my man Emil. Lettering is 50, coloring is $50 a page. Lettering is 25. A Jose Varice cover is $1,000 with another 100 tacked on for colors. Iago Maya, that's going to be $600 cover with 100 tacked on for colors. Renato also 600 with 100 tacked on for colors. Actually, he's another 100 because he'll do a dressed up version with pajamas. So he's 700 with 100 added on. All right. Might as well do the little calculator action. So first things first, 150 times 24 equals, what just happened? Where's our fucking calculator? Equals what? All right, that's not going to work here. It's not going to work us doing it online. So look at this screen while I do it online here, while I do it myself. This is the big stuff. 150 times 24 pages is 3,600 to make the interiors. Then 24 times 75. That's $50 a page for coloring, $25 a page for lettering. That's 1,800. So put that all together. You've got 5,400. 1,800 plus 3,600. Just making sure. 5,400. 5,400 plus 1,100 for one cover is 6,500. Plus 700 plus 800 for the other cover, plus another 100 for the recoloring of the Mary Jane cover, equals $8,100. You have to consider printing and shipping. Shipping's going to be about 2,000. Supplies and printing. Supplies and printing, depending on how many books. Each book's about $5. So again, you're going to need about 15,000 to get this done. So you got to do a campaign, a comic book campaign for about 20,000. Again, 8,100 gets the comic book made. And you can just do fucking digitals. Remember, digitals help because it doesn't cost you anything to send out digitals. But you're looking to do, you see I have here an $18,000 campaign. I usually do about 20,000 a month on my Kickstarters. That's what you pretty much got to do to make a profit. You got to make a $20,000 Kickstarter. Now, you don't need to spend all $8,100. Remember, you need $8,100 to get it finished. Then you got to print it and ship it. Right? Let's say 300 books are like $5 a book. Depending if you do the holochromes and shit like that, that changes it up. But again, you charge more for those. So let's just say you don't do a holochrome, you just do like paper books. Shipping's going to be about $2,000. So you add that on 19, so that's an even 10. Printing's about, if you want to make any kind of profit, you got to make 15. And then everything after 15 is going in your pocket. So we need to put together a $20,000 Kickstarter. Now you don't, again, all you need to get started, you have the script finished. You can show off the script, anybody wants to read it. What you want is at least one of the covers and 2 pages. You don't even need them colored. You can color them, letter them if you want, which will cost you another $150. So 2 pages. So let's say we already have one cover going. Jose's not working yet, so I'm getting the strip poker cover going. Or the slave Leia, right, which I've already started. So let's say we do the slave Leia cover first. Mary Jane and Peter, slave Leia. That's our $700 cover, right? We have one cover, 2 pages, it'll be 300. And if you don't color them, that's $1,000. 700 for the cover. You want to at least color the cover. So with 700 for the cover, 300 for the 2 pages to get drawn, and that's all you need. You got to put away $1,000, and that's all you need to get the 3 pieces you need to set up your Kickstarter. You set up a Kickstarter budget for $15,000. You know, you give away, like I say, do your 3 variants, 1 book packages, 2 book packages, 3 book packages, packages and posters if you want to use the 2. Because when I do a slave Leia cover for $700, I get the nude version, and I get one with the the covered steel bikini and the completely nude. So you can take the steel bikini and completely nude, the covered bikini and the nude option, and that's your poster combo. So now you have 2 posters along with 3 books with an added 4th book if you want to recolor the hologram, the Yakuza Mary Jane. If the Gwen Stacy sells really well, you could do 25 holochromes, you know, Yakuza Mary Janes. Now you make your money back. But if you don't do the Mary Jane, then you take $100 off the budget, and you got 800, 8,000, 2,000 for shipping, another $3-4 for printing, maybe about $3,000. Point is, 15 puts a couple of bucks in your pocket, makes it worth the while in sitting here and doing all the writing. And then anything after 15,000 is in your pocket as profit. And all you need to get started is $1,000. Whether you're working part-time, doing whatnot, eBay, fucking selling sperm, you can make $1,000. If you can't, you're not as good as a writer as you think you are. Or again, for a month, put away $250 a week. Or for fucking 10 weeks, put away $100 a week. You have the process. Now go and do it. Because I'm going to be doing a $15,000 Kickstarter for the AracKnight. I'm going to be making this. It's going to be limited edition because I can't sell it commercially. It's literally just going to be for the Kickstarter. When the Kickstarter is over, it's over. So I make my 20 grand. We send out the books, and then we never talk about it again. And that is that. And that is the class, ladies and gentlemen. When we meet up again, we will start the sequel, the second part of this storyline. We've introduced the first story. It was great. Origin, outfit, parents, spider bite, bullying, villains. We got it all. Now we got to write the next chapter. That's the class, kids. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you had a good time. And I'll see you back when we start the next one.